Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Saturday, it is a weekend. I hope you're having a good one wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Thank you as always for joining me. I really do appreciate it. It's the first full weekend of the Premier League season. Of course, it got underway last night in pretty spectacular fashion as well, although some pretty horrible scenes, very horrible scenes as well in that game, Liverpool versus Bournemouth. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Got plenty of other bits and pieces to get stuck into today. We're going to look at what Mikel Arteta has been saying ahead of the big kickoff for Arsenal tomorrow against Liverpool. He's been talking about Max Dowman, some interesting stuff there. Viktor Gyokeres, the transfer window, lots of bits and pieces as well from him in his sort of embargoed section from the press conference. The quotes for that went live last night, so we'll get stuck into what he's had to say there as well. Got some questions and comments from you guys as always to get stuck into, so thank you very much for that. But we'll start sort of with what's going on in terms of ahead of the game tomorrow. Interesting from the training pictures that were released yesterday. Obviously, Mikel said in the press conference yesterday when he was asked about Martin Zubimendi, who had been missing from pictures and videos that Arsenal put out during the week. There was a little bit of concern amongst the fan base, certainly rising on social media, that he had some sort of injury. Mikel said that he was fit, he was going to be available, and we've seen in the pictures, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube right there, he was involved in the training pictures yesterday, which was really, really positive. Max Dowman was involved as well. He's had a little bit of a break. He was given us some time off after the Villarreal game to have a bit of downtime himself and his family. He was back training yesterday with the first team. Again, you can see that there in the pictures from training. And Mikel was asked about him in the sort of embargoed section of the press conference. There's some interesting stuff on in just how this situation is going to be handled, because it is pretty unprecedented. Well, it is unprecedented, to be fair. A 15-year-old kid that young being sort of integrated into the first team for a Premier League club. You know, it is unprecedented. And he was asked about that and whether Dowman was going to be involved in Premier League squads coming up. And this is what he said. He said he's going to be in and around the team. We're going to have to manage his development very well, his next steps. And now we're fully connected with everybody in order to achieve that. We want to make sure that we give the platform that he needs, the time that he needs, the environment that he needs. And I'm sure he's going to push every door towards the first team and have opportunities with us. I've spoken about this before. It's such a difficult balancing act. And I think those words are very important that Arteta says there. You know, so it's kind of a vow of that he is going to play. He is going to get some minutes, but we need to look after this boy. He is 15. We've got a duty of care for him. We have to kind of put things in place that we've never really put in place before. We had the Ethan, when Ethan came through and played, obviously, when he was still 15, I think he was. What was he, 15? Was he 16 when he played at Brentford? I can't remember. I think he was 15. But then he was taken out. You know, he had that one sort of fleeting appearance, and then he was gone again for a while. And, you know, that I don't think is going to happen with Dowman. Dowman is kind of here to stay. I think he's not going to play every week. He's not going to be in every single squad every week, but he's going to be in and around it. We've already seen that. You know, he's training it. He's basically a first team training player at London Colney. So he's going to be around it. And Arsenal need to manage it with him, with the academy coaches, with the family, with everyone, exactly how we're going to do this, how we're going to look after him, how we're going to protect him from the increased spotlights, scrutiny, everything, but still give him the minutes and the time that his talent sort of deserves. Because sometimes, every so often, there feels like a player comes through who's so good that age doesn't really matter. And there's still a long way to go for Dowman to be considered that guy. You know, there's a lot of things he's got to go through, but clearly he is a bit of a one-off talent here. You know, you don't do things at 15 that he's done, that we've seen him do this pre-season against seasoned Premier League professionals and basically make him look very, very stupid. So it's a really difficult balancing act. And when Mikel says we're going to have to manage his development very well, his steps, and we're now fully connected with everybody in order to achieve that. You know, there's obviously a lot of thought process and talks going on internally at Arsenal about how Dowman's sort of, how is the next sort of 6 months maybe is going to be handled at Arsenal. It's a really interesting one. Will he be involved tomorrow? We'll have to wait and see on that. Certainly, you know, he's in and around the squad. I mean, this picture, just on a side note, I'm not sure I've seen Fabio Vieira smile in one picture since he's come back this summer, which might tell a story in terms of how he's feeling at the moment at Arsenal. But you see everyone absolutely beaming happy there, and then Fabio's on the end looking pretty miserable. But when you just look at this picture, I think this is kind of the winning team from training, which they always put the picture up. Normally, there's about sort of 5 or 6 players involved. You've basically got a full 11-a-side team there, which I think says a lot for the numbers that Arsenal currently have at the moment in the squad. And this is the sort of the thing when we talk about will Dowman be involved tomorrow? We're just not sure. I mean, I've got a couple of questions here. One from ArseTube, one's from Amateur Av, and they're both on the same sort of thing. ArseTube says, "Hi Charles, question: only 9 players can be named on the bench. We've got like 15. Which players are even missing from the bench?" And he lists Kepa, Timber, Mosquera, Kivior, Calafiori, Norgard, Marino, Noni, Trossard, Nwaneri, Havertz, and Dowman, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 12 players there that he's listed. And he says, I didn't even include Zinchenko, Vieira, and Nelson. So that takes it to 15 and only 9 players on the bench. So many players are going to be missing out from the squad at Old Trafford, not even going to be involved. And Amateur Av says the same sort of thing. He says, will be very interesting to see who misses out at United. I would imagine it would be majority of defenders, seeing as last season we had limited attacking options on the bench and couldn't change games. Players like Kivior, Zinchenko, Mosquera could miss out, with the obvious ones who aren't part of the squad, Vieira, Nelson, and Lokonga. So yeah, I mean, out of that 12 that you've listed at the top there, asked you, it's so hard to pick 3. I wouldn't be surprised if Kivior misses out, which I know a lot of people are going to go, what are you talking about? He played so well at the end of last season, and he did. I know he did. But if there's something rumbling away in the background, if there's a chance that he could potentially leave between now and the end of the transfer window, which we don't know yet, but there have been murmurings of it, then I wouldn't be surprised if Kivior misses out. I think Mosquera will be involved. Calafiori will definitely be involved. I think he might start, and it might be Lewis Skelly listed as one of these players. But then who else misses out there? I think Dowman will miss out. I don't think Dowman goes. As Mikel's just been saying, I think they're going to have to manage that pretty carefully, and I'm not sure he might go up just as for an experience and be like the 10th man, which often happens, but I think he'll probably miss out in terms of the subs bench. So I'm going Dowman, Kivior, and then I really don't know. Who do you not take out of that list? I mean, sure, you're looking at it and you think surely Timber's definitely going to be involved. Mosquera is definitely going to be involved. Calafiori is definitely. Norgard, surely. Marino, surely. Madueke, Trossard, Nwaneri, and Havertz. It's so difficult to work out who's not going to be involved there. And that's when we always go back to the transfer business and the need to bring one more player in, which I fully think Arsenal do. But it's just not quite as simple as that. When you've got a squad as big as this, with as many players as this, earning as much money as this, you need to make a couple of sales. And we're not even including, as you said, Zinchenko, Vieira, and Nelson in this list, or Sambi. Sambi's not even in that list. It's just another one. So it's a massive squad now. Arsenal need to trim it out a little bit. They absolutely do. So yeah, thank you. I'm not really answered your questions, to be fair, but I would, yeah, out of those two, out of that list, I would right now say Kivior and Dowman and +1. So we shall see on that. Elsewhere in the embargo section of the press conference, Mikel was asked about Viktor Gyokeres and talking about that and how long he's been sort of on Arsenal's hit list when it comes to a new striker, sort of dating back, was the interest as far back as when he was doing well at Coventry. And Mikel said he's been on our radar and that the scouting department for a long time. But the reality as well is that you have to have an available place in the team. Now the time has come when he was available and we decided to bring him in, and he decided that the best option for him was Arsenal. We've done the process like we always do to analyse every single option. It's not only about what we like about the player, it's many aspects that have to come together. And we're extremely happy that it's Viktor. Talks about that experience of playing in the Championship and what it might be like. And he says, I think it helps once you've lived in the country and having an experience and understanding of the culture, the passion, the style of play, the demands that they put in the place, the intensity, the referees. There are a lot of things that are great to experience here. And then he went away to a different league, adapted, and was very prolific. Now you just have to look at his body language, the way he talks, the way he carries himself. He's a really confident boy, and I'm sure he will be very, very good for us. He did then speak about the transfer window, and he said on Arsenal's business so far, he said, I think we have done, and there is still days to go, very, very good transfer window. I'm so happy with the process we've put in place, how Andrea has worked and adapted to the club. The support from the board and ownership has been top. We are really happy with what we have done. That's the only thing we can control and spend money on. Interesting, he did again point out there is still days to go, so he's not definitely closing the door on any other business for Arsenal. But as I said, it all feels very, very interlinked with what's happening with selling players at the moment. So that's what Mikel said about Gyokeres and about transfer window ahead of the game against Manchester United. As I said, I think Gyokeres starts. The closer we get into the game now, the more I think it will be Victor. I'd be very, very surprised now if it's not going to be Viktor Gyokeres up front against Manchester United. I'm thinking Saka, Gyokeres, Martinelli, Zubimendi, Rice, Odegaard. The back four is the only sort of decision for me. Right now, I'm thinking Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Calafiori. But again, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Miles Lewis-Skelly's at left back or anything like that. But big day, hopefully, for Viktor Gyokeres tomorrow at Old Trafford. And one thing that Mikel keeps talking about is that his character, his personality. He's ready to prove a lot of people that, the time is now for Viktor Gyokeres. He's ready to prove a lot of his doubters wrong, who think maybe he won't be able to make the step up from Portugal, all that sort of stuff. And fingers crossed we see him start the way he means to go on at Old Trafford. I did mention this in the video I did sort of immediately after the press conference, but if you didn't see it, this is what he had to say about Zubimendi and about Leandro Trossard. On Zubimendi, he said he's had great integration, as everybody can see this immediately, a very big impact on the team. I'm really happy, and he will be fit, which we've now seen him in the training pictures. You can see that training pictures that you're looking at in YouTube was taken yesterday. On Trossard as well, he says, I think he's much better. He'll be able to train again tomorrow, and if that's the case, he'll be fit. Well, he definitely trained again because he's in that winning team photo that I put up a bit further back. There he is with his ridiculously white teeth in the middle there, Leandro Trossard. So he is fit and available, which is good news as well. Right, the Premier League returned with a bang last night, no doubt about it. Liverpool just about getting past Bournemouth in an absolute thriller at Anfield. Looked like they were cruising, 2-0 up. Semenyo, unbelievable. 2 brilliant goals, especially on the back of what happened, which we'll talk about in a minute. Looked like he'd rescued a point for Bournemouth, but Liverpool, that's the thing with Liverpool. I think this game's going to paint the picture of a lot of their season, to be fair. Just have that firepower to be able to score goals. And they did that, scoring 2 late goals. Chiesa, that was a really good finish by Chiesa, by the way. Fantastic. Coming off the bench and scoring like that. And then Salah bagging, as he always does on the opening day of the season, opening weekend of the season, to make it 4-2. So an amazing game, brilliant game. Liverpool, just exactly kind of what I expect from them in that first game. I thought, going forward, fantastic. Going to score so many goals this season, which I think is going to help them massively, because when you look at the goals that Bournemouth scored and how easily they got through Liverpool when they had chances in the first half, Semenyo missed a good chance at 0-0. The fullbacks pushed so high. I mean, look at Semenyo's second goal yesterday. It was basically just 2 defenders back. Bournemouth broke away, and suddenly it was just, I think it was Van Dijk and Konate versus 4 Bournemouth players, because the fullbacks, everyone's so high when it comes to Liverpool. I know it came from a set piece, but still. And I think that's the thing with Liverpool. I just look at their midfield, how they're going to protect the back four. I look at the fullbacks, how high they're going to push up. I think you're going to get chances against Liverpool. Absolutely no doubt about it. And I think Bournemouth showed that yesterday. But Liverpool have just got so much going forward that it might be that it doesn't matter if they concede 2 goals, because they can go and score 4 like they did yesterday. But you can certainly get at them. Absolutely, certainly get at them. They're the favourites to win the league, no doubt about it. They deserve to be the favourites to win the league. But there's a fragility there, I think, that might well get exposed. The fullbacks are so attacking that they've signed. They haven't really got an absolute elite ball winner, I don't think, in the middle of the midfield to protect the back four. Van Dijk's 34 now, still unbelievable, but 34 now. Konate looked suspiciously poor yesterday. Maybe Mark Gahey will come in and replace him, and it'll be Gahey and Van Dijk. But it was a brilliant game, fair play. It was totally overshadowed, of course, by the racist abuse that Semenyo suffered in the first half. That the protocols were followed really, really well, I thought, by the officials, Anthony Taylor, by Liverpool, Bournemouth, and everyone. But it's just such a, this is such a brilliant game beamed across the world, and then you have an incident like that of just some absolute idiot in 2025 deciding to racially abuse a player in front of everyone, in front of the camera. You're just like, what are you doing? How stupid are you? It's 2025, mate. It doesn't matter what year it is. It doesn't matter. 30 years ago it was wrong. 40 years ago it was wrong. 50 years ago it was wrong. Now it's wrong. And it drives me crazy that we're still having to talk about this. The punishments just need to be so much more severe. I saw a tweet yesterday, and absolutely bang on. You run on the pitch. Yeah, if someone runs on the pitch yesterday, that's it. You're not coming back to that stadium ever. It's a criminal offence. The book can be thrown at you. It's got to be so tough when it comes to any sort of racial abuse as well. It's not just online. We've seen that. A lot of the time we always say, "Oh, it's an online issue." It's clearly not, because we saw it yesterday again in full view of everyone in the stadium, and it's just education is so important. Of course, it is. Punishment's got to be so severe in these cases. Stop it at source. Stop it happening. Educate people better. And if someone crosses a line like they did yesterday in such horrible fashion, punish them so severely. Send out a message that there's no place in society, let alone football, but society, for rubbish like this. And it's such a shame that such a brilliant game was ruined by just one individual, and it was just one individual, but still, it's just horrible. So fair play to Semenyo for the way he handled that, and then to bounce back and to score 2 brilliant goals. There's no better way to silence such an idiot like that. But still, he shouldn't have to silence anyone. And it's just such a shame that it happened. It really, really is. Right, moving on to a couple of questions and comments now before we wrap this one up. Sam says, what do you think the hold up with selling players is? We've been very efficient in signing players, but we're 2 weeks away from the transfer window ending. We've got loads of players we still need to move on. Do you think Berta is realising how challenging it is to sell players at Arsenal? I think he probably is realising that, yes. The thing with Arsenal, again, this window, is that they've done a lot of their business early, which is great, which is what you want to do. But I do think that a lot of clubs who might be interested in some of their players are looking at it and thinking, well, they've got a massive squad now. They've signed a load of players. They've got a massive squad. It's very, very clear that they need to sell some players. Why would we go right now and just give them the sort of money they want? Why don't we wait till the end of the window when they start panicking, and we can probably get it in a better deal? And Arsenal always seem to be in the situation. To be fair, they weren't last year. Last year was different. They had sellable players, young English players, your Nketiahs, your Smith Rose, who you kind of knew Arsenal were going to get good money on, and there was going to be some good deals done. This one was always going to be a really challenging summer for Berta selling wise. I think when you look at the players who are going to be for sale, Vieira not at the best of times, didn't have the best loan spell last season. I think he's a sellable player, but it was always going to be one I think that dragged on a little bit. Reece Nelson, I thought would probably have gone by now. I have to admit, I thought that would have been done and dusted by now, but it depends who's in for him and what they're offering. Zinchenko was always going to be a really difficult one to do. Kivior, I think, it's a kind of balancing act one of, I don't think Arsenal are in any sort of rush to let him go. I think it all depended on Kivior. It doesn't seem like he's really pushed for it yet. And so that's been a bit of a tough one. Trossard, kind of contract talks going on decent enough money. And so I think there is context behind them. But yeah, I think he's certainly finding out how challenging it is. I don't think Arsenal have been able to sort of shake off this reputation that they have of being pretty bad sellers, and a club potentially you can take advantage of a little bit when it comes to negotiating in the transfer market. I think Andrea Berta has been brought in to help fix that. Can you do that straight away? Probably not, but I still think the next 2 weeks are going to be really, really important. So, yeah, I think, Sam, the hold up, I think a lot of it is down to the context of the players that Arsenal are probably willing to let go. But yeah, they need to pull their finger out. It would be very, very handy for a lot of reasons if they could pull their finger out and get a couple of deals done, certainly in the next couple of weeks. Redchem80 there says, on the subject of Odegaard being captain, is it not weird that there was a player's vote? Why would players choose a captain who is going to hold them to standards on and off the pitch? It's like being in school and getting to choose your teacher. You're always going to choose the more lenient teacher over the teacher who is strict and won't let you get away with nonsense. I don't think so. I mean, the captain's votes happen a lot. This wasn't necessarily a captain's vote anyway. This was a vote, I think, more on what the leadership group was going to be. And who should be in the leadership group, that sort of thing. And, whatever happened, Martin Odegaard was going to be captain of Arsenal this season. That was that, is Mikel Arteta's captain. But I think as part of that vote for the leadership group, Arteta was just canvassing opinion because there's been lots of changes. And yeah, this isn't just an Arsenal thing. This happens an awful lot of times. So I don't think anything to do with the voters because they think he's going to be a more lenient teacher. Just again, in football nowadays, I don't think people are scared of their captain. And I don't think it works like that. You just don't have those sort of captains anymore. I'm trying to think of those sort of captains that sort of existed. I'm thinking of obviously the Tony Adams type captain. John Terry maybe at Chelsea was the last one I can think of with that sort of mould of player. But with Odegaard, there's just so absolute total respect there for him and the role that he does, what he does on the pitch, but what he does off the pitch as well. So do I find it weird that those players vote? No, I don't, because I'm so used to them now. They just happen all the time, not just at Arsenal, at so many different clubs. So I don't think it is. I don't think it was weird at all, I have to say. And that is it from me today, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. As always, please do enjoy your weekend, enjoy your Saturday, and then it all starts tomorrow, doesn't it, for Arsenal with that trip to Manchester United. So I'll be back in the morning to preview that game, give my predicted 11, all that sort of stuff. You want to get involved in that, give me your predicted 11s, get down into the comments, do that, and I'll pull them together as always and get them included in the show. Take it easy, everyone. Have a great Saturday. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.